Come on in, welcome to my home. Today, we are finally going to make that fruitcake from the soaked fruit. If you can remember 5 months ago, or a little over, when we soaked that fruit, if not, click that card. It will take you to the day where I soaked a whole bunch of fruit in rum. And I soaked that for about 5 months, almost 6 months. And once a week I would shake the bottle or the jar of fruit so that way the fruit would actually absorb all of that magical rum. And now, part of you are saying, well, I don't have time to soak fruit for 6 months now. Christmas is coming around and I want to have a fruitcake for Christmas. And others of you are saying, who likes fruitcake? Let me tell you, this fruitcake is different. And I know everybody says that, but this fruitcake is different. And no, you don't have to soak it for 6 months. No, you don't have to make this far ahead. I think you can make this about 2 weeks ahead and do that and then soak your, you could do it in at Thanksgiving and then have time for it to soak for Christmas. But we are doing this so that it can be really nicely soaked. So let's talk about this. So like I said, I soaked my fruit for 6 months or 5 months. Then every week I would shake it, and then I would take my fruit, and I took my fruit and then I drained it and then chopped it, because I did mine as big chunks. And one of the things about that fruit is this fruit has nuts in it that will make a difference when it comes time for the measurements. I did not come up with this recipe whatsoever. It is linked down below in the description. It was a great recipe to make. It is super simple to make. Super simple to make, but I did have to make one alteration. It is done by weight. That is something that you're going to have to think about, is the fact that this is done by weight. And if you want to do the best recipes are also done by weight, simply because you can replicate those recipes. And when we go back to the whole a packed cup of flour versus a sifted cup of flour, those are two greatly different amount of flours. But if you pack a gram of flour and sift a gram of flour, it's the same amount of flour because it's the same amount of weight. So if you really want to do the best recipes, you'll do them by weight. This recipe is done by weight and really easy. So I chopped my fruit, but I chopped, instead of 250 grams of fruit, I chopped up 300 grams of fruit, because I'm supposed to have 25 grams of almonds and 25 grams of cashews. The nuts were already in there, didn't need that, so yeah. Then putting it together was so super easy. The steps are very simple. It's just like always, blending together your butter and your sugar. The one thing that you want to remember is to combine, I think that is actually the first step, is you want to combine 3 tablespoons of flour in your soaked fruit, because what that does is it helps the fruit stay suspended in your batter. If you do not do this, your fruit will have a tendency to just sink to the bottom of the batter because there's nothing there for it to hold on to, I guess. Remember, I'm not a baker. I'm not a professional baker. I just bake a lot. And this one is really easy, and that I've found holds true for most things. If you have some sort of liquidy kind of thing, something that's coated with a liquid on the outside, and you put it into a batter, the weight of it will cause it to sink usually. But if you add flour to it, that flour will help suspend it in the batter. So you mix those things together, set it aside, then mix everything else. So the butter and the sugar get mixed together. Then you combine your flour and your spices. The one thing which I did do was I bumped up the amount of cinnamon to half a teaspoon, simply because I know I like more cinnamon, but that's not going to matter. Then you just start combining it. It does call for 4 eggs. And I am using sea salt, so, a big pinch of sea salt. Mix all of those things together, and then we add in our fruit. The fruit goes in really nicely, and I mean really nicely. You mix that up to have a nice smooth batter. Now let's talk about these absolutely amazing silicone pans. They are absolutely amazing. I did get them to test out. But since this is not the focus of this thing, I will link them down below. But I love them. They are dishwasher safe, which is my big thing now. If it's not dishwasher safe, I don't want it. So I put the batter into the silicone pan and then baked it. Now, since I'm in America, I'm baking it at 300 degrees, and then you decide you bake it for 1.5 to 2 hours. I only had to do 1.5 hours. After 1.5 hours, I put my cake tester into the bread, and it came out clean. Yeah. So far this is really simple. I mean, the process is very, very easy. There is no hidden agenda in this. This will go really, really fast. And what can you do with the rest of that fruit? Well, we're going to talk about that getting closer to Christmas, because I do have some ideas, because there was a lot of fruit left over, and we'll talk about that. But what do you do with the rum? Couple different things. You could use the rum to soak your fruitcake. Now with me, I'm going to use the actual rum that I use to soak the fruit, instead of the fruitcake rum. Does this make sense? Because, I mean, when you drain the fruit from the rum, you've got rum that has been infused with all of the flavors from the fruit, the nuts, all of that is in there, but I want to keep the rum taste. So I'm using fresh rum, and you're supposed to soak that with, I think, 2 to 3 tablespoons of rum, and you soak that, you put a new bit of rum in there. I think it's once a month. Let me double check. Let's talk about this process called feeding the cake. Now, in the recipe, since you're only doing this for a small time, it says that you're going to feed the cake every 2 to 3 days before the event, like so before Christmas, but they're only doing this for a small amount of time. I'm going to feed my cake once a week with 2 tablespoons of rum from now until Christmas. I'm only using 2 tablespoons of rum because you don't want to have a soggy cake. This will give the cake chance to, you know, absorb the rum. Be careful and watch out so that it doesn't get, it doesn't turn into this spongy, wetty mess. But you want to pour that in there. I'm using a plastic bag. You can keep this at room temperature, because the rum will keep it nice and fresh and everything. So I will pour it over the fruitcake, seal it back into the bag, let it sit, and then once a week I will do this. Now, the one thing I have learned from experience is, as you're doing this, flip the cake each time you pour the rum on it. That way you get an even distribution of rum, and you're also going to make sure that you pour the rum over the fruitcake, not just in the same spots over and over and over again. So I've got plenty of time to make sure that this fruitcake gets nice and soaked and wonderful, and it should be so good. But I mean, this is one of those things where, yes, it does take some time, but it should be amazing. So now what we do is we sit back and we wait. So once a week, pouring that rum over the fruitcake. And like I said, you can use the fruitcake or the fruit rum that you drained off from the soaked fruit. You can use that, or you can come up with different cocktails. And one of the cocktails I'm going to come up with is called a fruitcake cocktail. It's actually kind of neat, but you won't see that till later on in the year. But let's get those fruitcakes going, get them soaking, and I'd like to hear from you. Are you planning on making a fruitcake for Christmas? If you are, you're going to do a soaked fruitcake. Now, you can also do this, you don't have to do it in rum, you can do it in brandy, you can do it in dark rum, you can do it in vodka, I guess? I don't know. That one I don't know about. I'd like to take this time to thank these wonderful people. They are part of my Patreon family and part of the channel members. Every week they get these videos early, and they also get a weekly video. They're the ones who get to watch me actually shake fruit for a fruitcake mix once a week for 5 months. But there are lots of things that we get to do together, and it is a lot of fun. And like I said, you get these videos early. If you want to become part of that family, go ahead and click that link or check out channel members. It'll be a really fun time, and it's really great to have them along. But this is going to be a really fun and exciting adventure to do, and you'll have to tune in to see how this turns out in just about Christmas time. So I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know down in the comments what you thought, and I hope I get to see you again the next time you stop by.